Testimony continued today in the most notorious criminal trial in Richland County. Dr. John Boyle is accused of killing his wife Maureen and burying her body.
The 12-year-old son finally took the stand.
Boy confidently told the jury it was his decision to testify against his father.
I heard a scream. I heard a thud. It was about this loud.
We, the jury, find the defendant guilty.
I decided at an early age that our trauma should not be what defines us. It's what we choose to do with it that does. I'm here to share my unique perspective on true crime, mental health, society, and popular culture, and always with a slight sense of humor. I'm Collier Landry, and welcome to my show.
Mover Nation, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? What's going on today, Mover Nation? I got equipment breaking down. I got people breaking down. I got animals breaking down. I got life never throws more at you than you can handle at one moment. But I'll tell you, it's trying me. My boom arm that holds my microphone is, if we see this is happening. Hopefully y'all can hear me, by the way. But yeah, so this is a thing now. Marisol is right here. Marisol, come here. Come here, say hi to everybody. Oh, good girl. There she is. She says hi. And Lee, you love me, right? Yeah. So here we are. It has been a doozy of a week. Yeah, it's been a doozy of a week. So, yeah, it's been about a week. Yeah. And I don't know. This Sunday, we are going to have our members only Collier's AV Club, which we are going to watch, and I will pull it up here. The Social Dilemma, which is about social media, the social media age, Cambridge Analytica break-in that happened during the 2016 election, etc. I've been talking about social media for a while with you guys and sort of this boom arm is just really not happening right now. I think the wire inside of it is broken. This is why you come from. Yeah, it's like the arm itself is coming off. Oh yeah, this is a thing. Wow. Wish y'all could see this. Let me see. It's a thing that's happening. I got another camera. Hang on. This will be it's been a weird, like I said, it's been a weird last couple of days, couple of weeks. There's our Marisol cam. There she is. She's looking at me like, what's going on? But look at this sad excuse for a boom arm. It's terrible. Look at that. It normally stays up. It's very rigid. I think it clearly has seen better days. It's time to order a new one. Yeah. There we go. Hi, sweetheart. Say hi to everybody. We are also out of bully sticks. So Marisol is waiting for her bully stick. That's never going to happen. And yeah, kind of like that. All right. So we're going to have the Social Dilemma this Sunday, July. Oh, this is great. Oh, this is the thing. Yeah, I know. I hear you, sweetie. Everybody wants. There we go. We got it. Look at this. We got it. Okay. This is why you guys come here, just for the you come for the entertainment and you stay for all the technical difficulties, I suppose. And Marisol, where's your camera not? Where's your camera all dark all of a sudden? I give up. I give up today. It's too much. Happy Daffy. It's a Daffy Sunday. I think that would be. We'll just call it a Happy Daffy Sunday. We are going to talk about the Ellen Greenberg case, which has not gotten a lot of attention for quite a while. And for those of you that don't know, so there was an update this week. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court. Well, I'm going to play the news clip. We'll talk about it afterwards. But there's been an update. But this is, you talk about, and I want to discuss from my own personal opinion what I feel. There's a lot of parallels with I think what the O'Keefe family is going to go through as well. I mean, it's different, obviously, because nobody was tried in the case of Ellen Greenberg yet, or what have you. It is a very weird case, to say the least. And we're going to get into it, but I'm going to play the news clip. I'm going to put the puppykins probably downstairs because she's antsy pantsy behind me, and we'll check it out, and then we'll get into it. If I can, of course, find it. There we go. Let's do it.
Yuki, Washington.
And I'm Natasha Brown, and for Jessica Cartalia today, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court will be hearing arguments from the family of Ellen Greenberg.
The beloved Philadelphia teacher was found dead in her Manioc apartment in 2011, and we continue to follow up.
Chief investigative reporter Joe Holden, he's been following this story for years now and joins us now with today's developments. Joe.
Natasha, Yuki, good evening to both of you. This case has twisted and turned through the courts for more than a decade, and the legal wrangling will now continue. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court announcing it would examine specifically whether Ellen Greenberg's parents have standing to challenge a, quote, erroneous finding on their daughter's death certificate. So many have asked over time, what is the issue with all of this investigation? Well, it all started with a teacher found dead in her apartment with nearly 24 stab wounds. The year was 2011. Investigators initially concluded it was a case of murder, but then a strange reversal. Investigators changed the manner of death to suicide on Ellen's death certificate. That left her parents stunned and sickened. The night of her death, court records show Ellen's fiancé was at the gym and returned to find their Manioc apartment door dead bolted. After an hour of trying to reach her, records show he broke down the door to find Ellen slumped in the kitchen. Records from the medical examiner's office show Ellen had been stabbed in the head, neck, and chest. Attorneys for the family have argued Ellen would not have been able to inflict such injuries on herself. One injury, they say, was inflicted post-mortem. Ellen's parents have maintained they will keep up the fight.
What is your reaction today that the Supreme Court has indicated they're going to hear this case?
We're very pleased. We couldn't be happier. If we're not going to use the word justice, we're going to use the words undecided or homicide. Because that's what we believe this is, a homicide. Ellen was brutally murdered.
Well, the courts, attorneys, and Ellen's family have faulted the Philadelphia Police Department and the district attorney's office for what they've described as flaws in the investigation. Now, aside from the Supreme Court's involvement now, the investigation today sits with the Chester County DA's office due to conflicts in Philadelphia and with the state attorney general's office. We're live in the newsroom. This is Joe Holden, CBS News, Philadelphia. Natasha.
All right, Joe, thank you very much.
So that is a little bit of the background on where all of that stands. There's a little bit of background on where all that stands at the moment. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing the screen. Yeah, it's this. Okay, so we're going to get into a little bit of this now. I'll give you a little bit more backstory. So one of the things, and somebody, people have mentioned this case to me over the last, year and change. They've said, hey, if you heard of this thing, I'm from, I was born in Philadelphia. They're like, have you heard of this whole situation? I said, yeah, very briefly. It is really odd. And this is not the first case that I've seen that people have directed my attention to that has to do with this death by suicide, because that's how you're supposed to refer to these things as, that does not add up. There are many, many things that are wrong with this situation, but also in the situation itself, it's hard to draw a suspect other than the fiance, whose story, according to police, had all but lined up. I almost wondered, and I'll get into my sort of conjecture, my speculation on what may have happened, because when this occurred back in 2011, and I'm looking for the dates, this was January the 26th on 2011. Apparently on that day and the day before, there was a huge winter storm. And by the way, speaking of storms, Cat Loves Catskills, Sarah Holman, you guys are in the eye of the storm. I believe it's a Category 2 right now in Florida, in St. Pete's area, Tampa, Florida area. Please stay safe, everyone who is, I don't know what the tropical storm or if it's hurricane, whatever it is, Please be safe if you're in the path of any destruction, etc. Under the tornadoes. This is the time of year for all of this. So please, if you please take caution. If you need to obviously step away from live, please do so. Don't be watching this in the middle of a hurricane and putting your safety at risk. But we appreciate you being here. So that said, it was a winter storm that night. The schools were canceled, which is why she wasn't at school. And there appeared to be no problems in their relationship. And even though Ellen had expressed to her parents she was going to move back to Harrisburg, which is where her family was from. She was living in Philadelphia in this condo with her fiance, Sam Goldberg, and he was a television producer. So you had the Goldbergs and the Greenbergs living together. But one of the things that stood out is that it was a massive snowstorm. And in this half an hour on January 26, 2011, when Sam Greenberg leaves to go to the gym and then to come back and find the door locked, and the door was locked from the inside. I had one of those swinging latch bolts that you see in hotel rooms. So if you open the door, you can open it safely and it latches. It only opens a little bit. And I have a curious puppy looking through things. Yes, you have kibbles right here. Oh, you ate all the kibbles. Is it time for more kibbles? It's time for more kibbles, guys. Marisol, we got to put your camera up. And why is it not working? I don't understand. Why is it so dark? There we go. Oh, you want kibbles? You guys want to see her get kibbles? Yeah, you want to see her get kibbles. Who doesn't want to see a puppy chase after kibbles? But yes, stay safe, guys. Stay safe, Charlie. But okay. Getting back to my Ellen Greenberg story. We've given the puppy food. So Sam Greenberg, he comes home. I believe his name is Sam Greenberg. Hold on, I'm looking through my notes here. I don't want to call anybody by the wrong name. Sam Goldberg, sorry. Ellen Greenberg, Sam Goldberg. Sam Goldberg comes back. The door is latched from the inside. He can't open it up. He starts sending her messages. He's getting angry. He's getting agitated. He goes down to the security in the apartment building and says, "Hey, my fiance is stuck inside the apartment. She won't let me back in." I'm like here, 50% here for the Marisol camera. Yes. We love the Marisol camera. Marisol, everybody loves you. Come on. I think she's in a very playful mood today. It's like Daddy has to go to work. Daddy has to work. Yes. You want to say hi to everybody? Okay. Now you're going to be coy puppy. Okay. So Sam Goldberg goes down to the security at the apartment building. He says, "Hey, I need in." They're like, "We can't let you in the apartment without, policies." It's a really nice building in Philadelphia. Comes back up and he forces his entry in. He then finds her face down in the kitchen, bleeding out, multiple stab wounds. He calls 911. He's on the phone with the 911 operator. And I won't play the call because I don't want to trigger anyone. We try not to play these things, but he plays he calls 911. They come say, is she breathing? No, she's not breathing. Do you know how to do CPR? They coach him through the CPR over the phone. Now, initially, this case was ruled a homicide, but he was not ever a suspect. And over the years, his story checked out. His key fob checks out to use the gym. All of his timeline is intact. But how did anyone get into this 6-story apartment in Philadelphia in the middle of a winter storm and murder Ellen Greenberg? And now what this whole thing is with the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, and for the last decade, this has been ruled a death by suicide, and on the birth certificate, which they are trying to obviously get ruled back to a homicide, because while they were having the wake, or it's not a wake because they're Jewish, it's called something else, the services for her memorial, the death was ruled from a homicide to death by suicide. And that caused a big kerfuffle. Obviously, the parents are very upset. Obviously, they're trying to, figure out if the fiance, Sam Goldberg, is a part of this or not. And he's been cleared by the police. So what happened inside that home? And that is hopefully, look, this is January 2011. We are now in August of 2024. August 4th, right? Wow. The year has flown by. August 4th of 2024. That's 13 years without a family, 13 and a half years without a family having any sort of answers. And the case had moved, and when a certain elected official came into power, he referred the case over to the state, which then said, we haven't found anything because it's back in 2022. They were back to square one, and the family is just looking for answers. And in looking at all of this, and I'll read my official notes here, but I think about the John O'Keefe situation, because here we had Karen Reed on trial for the second-degree murder of John O'Keefe. No matter what side of the Karen Reed, free Karen Reed, not free Karen Reed aisle you are on, I think it is very difficult for anyone who watched that trial to think that they had proven guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. So much of the evidence was very convoluted. And in this case, no one has been charged, and there is no one who is going to be apparently held accountable. And what does that really look like in a situation like this that is so touch and go for the family? I'm gonna play another one from, this is also from, I believe, was it Fox News Philadelphia? I'm going to share this as well. And this will give anybody, as I said, a little bit of background here.
7:31. Important segment here. More than 10 years ago, after the death of their daughter in Manayunk, a Pennsylvania couple continues to fight for justice.
Just days after 27-year-old Ellen Greenberg, a teacher at Juniata Park Academy, sent out save the date cards for her upcoming wedding, she was found dead in her apartment by her fiance. It was January 26, 2011. This is a portion of the 911 call her fiance made, as heard on the Crime Junkie podcast.
I went downstairs to go work out. I came back up, the door was latched. My fiance's inside. She wasn't answering. So after about a half hour, I decided to break it down. I see her now just on the floor with blood. She's not responding.
Then later on the call,
oh my God, she stabbed herself. Where? She fell with a knife. Oh no.
Officials counted 20 stab wounds to her body. Police on scene treated her death as a suicide. The next day, it was ruled a homicide. Then a few days later, the medical examiner changed the ruling once again to suicide. It was the start of a long, long legal battle for her parents, Sandy and Josh.
I want my daughter's name cleared, because there's no way that she could have done this to herself.
Ellen's parents are back with us again this morning. Sandy and Josh, welcome again. And their investigator, Tom Brendan's here as well. Tom, thank you for coming in. I know it's 10 years later, but it doesn't get any easier, does it?
No, it doesn't.
The pain ever go away?
No.
So I've
so terrible
podcast about 3 times. They want us to believe the initial police officers who showed up there that your daughter stabbed herself 20 times.
It's ridiculous.
Ridiculous. Josh, seriously, how could they have come to that decision in that apartment in Manayunk? They walk in, she's been stabbed 20 times, and they call it a suicide?
This is no way. It's as my wife said, it's ridiculous. It's absurd. And our journey through this to today, over the decade or 10 years we've been involved in this, gets more ridiculous every day.
Yeah, it seems like the case was botched from the opening day. Tom, you've been investigating crimes for years and years. Do you agree with that?
Yes. If you look at the timeline from the 26th of January through the 28th of January, it totally discredits any good basic police work at all.
Yeah.
What transpired.
We'll get into how the crime scene was completely deep clean way too soon. The door was locked, right? Her door was locked from the inside.
This is all what we've been told. There was never really an investigation to clearly illustrate any of this.
Mm-hmm. What does that? What she lived on? What floor was this on?
Sixth floor.
It's the sixth floor. So this was the only way in or out of her apartment. Well, you can go out on the balcony, but you're not going to climb down or climb up.
Right, and there was a snowstorm that day. That's why she was home at 1 o'clock, and that was the only way in or out.
You were up in Harrisburg at the time?
Yes.
So I remember that huge snowstorm. My gosh. It was January of 2011. So you weren't able to come down right away?
No, we couldn't come.
We didn't get word of any of this until late into the evening. There were mounds of snow. Snow plows hadn't come through.
Who called you?
The fiance's father. And I didn't know what he meant. I said, where's the ambulance? And then he said, there is none.
Because we won't need one? And then you knew?
No, I didn't really.
It was shock. This is not what you expect to get a call from. You have a 27-year-old daughter who's engaged to be married and living in Philadelphia with her fiance.
Had they been arguing?
Not
that
our
we know
knowledge.
And she had been to see a psychiatrist because she was having some troubles. She was having trouble at school.
No, she had anxiety.
Anxiety?
And
where was the anxiety coming from? Do you know?
I'm going to postulate, I can guess. There were various injuries on her body that were indicative of bruises and healing.
Okay, let's go back to that. So there are bruises all over her body, and those bruises were from maybe days, weeks before she was attacked.
They weren't part of that night.
Were not part of that night. So now you got to figure out what that is all about.
We are babes in the woods. We had no knowledge. If you know anything about this type of problem, it's very unlikely that the victim is going to say anything to you.
Mm-hmm.
And we think she was a victim.
Yeah.
That's part of what's going on here.
Now, why in the world was the fiance's uncle allowed to go into her apartment and take Ellie's stuff, her computer and stuff like that, after the apartment was deep cleaned? So now there's no longer a crime scene. You can't get any material out of there now.
This was done by a prominent attorney, uncle, okay? And he's currently supposedly a judge on the state attorney's disciplinary board. Now, this individual removed Ellie's cell phone, the fiance's laptop, Ellie's work laptop, and Ellie's personal laptop. So right then and there, that negates that chain of evidence.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that adversely impacts the chain of evidence on those devices, so that anything that's discovered on those devices can be challenged in court.
Okay, any expert that you've hired since then, everybody that looks at this case says that Ellie was murdered.
Yes, it was a homicide.
It was a homicide, except for that initial report that day that said it was a suicide. But then it went to a homicide, then back to a suicide.
I think it went from homicide to suicide to homicide.
Really?
Yeah. Yes.
So what do we do?
Officers,
what do we do now? I mean, obviously, it needs to be reinvestigated. So we asked the Attorney General, is there anything you can do yesterday? And he wrote back in a statement, we've looked at all. No, we're not going to reopen this case as of now. He needs more evidence, he says. What is hard? He goes into how it's heartbreaking and all that. But he says they don't have legitimate new evidence to bring forward. It has not been brought forward yet.
We'll just read that. While it is heartbreaking to everyone that our investigation didn't find the resolution the family wanted in this bizarre and perplexing case, there is nothing more from our office to do until and if legitimate new evidence is brought forward. Okay.
Yeah, so we're not going to do anything. So what can we do? I know you have a petition. Maybe if we all put enough pressure through this petition, we can get it reopened.
Well, there are two things happening. Number one, there's a petition on change.org, which has over 110,000 signatures that we had nothing to do with. We don't listen to that or whatever. Number two, we are going to go to trial. And the purpose of our trial is to get the suicide changed to either undecided or homicide, which we prefer, and have the case reopened and investigated.
Now, that'd be a non-jury trial.
It happens to be a bench trial, yes.
Okay, a bench trial.
The Philadelphia situation with trials right now is very overloaded.
You're not giving up.
No.
Why is it so important to get at least the determination changed from suicide to homicide?
She was our daughter.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what would you do?
I would do the same thing you're doing.
The longer this goes on, the more we uncover, the more we discover. And just because you work for a government agency doesn't give you license to say whatever you want without facts and proving the facts.
Do you think the the linchpin here, is what happened when they went into her apartment and took all of her stuff out?
We don't know the why or the who, so don't ask us the why.
It should have been you two in her apartment taking her stuff.
Well, theoretically, if he
no one had permission to touch her things.
Theoretically, he should have returned it to us the next day at her funeral, which he did not do.
Man, this excuse me, this statement by the Attorney General's office is vile.
Why do you say it's
a lie?
Can you put it up again?
It's a lie. For him to say, okay, if legitimate new evidence is brought forward, okay, do they read the newspaper? Do they pay attention to podcasts? Do they have my phone number? Do they have Josh's phone number? Do they have Sandy's phone number?
Do you want to hear from them directly?
Well, it'd be better if they heard through our attorney, so we know what to do and do it properly.
Them, and they promised to produce a document of a forensic analysis of Ellen's laptop.
All right, so why don't we help you get that? The two of you come together.
The reason you're not going to get it because they didn't do it.
Well, yeah.
It's a lie.
You know, I
just keep coming back or keep us informed of how this is going, especially the bench trial. All right, and we'll come right back.
I mean, that's so heavy. I just can't imagine these parents and I have a link now into the in the actual show notes of the episode today with the GoFundMe that they just mentioned for Ellen Greenberg if you guys want to help out. I just added those. This is, for me, always the crux of talking about these cases in the first place. And the impetus for talking about these is the one family's quest for justice versus another family's, right? And versus, I see people in the comments, people think one thing, think another. What is the connections? Look, I'm like the guy. What is the connections that, like, who knows who moves and sits with who, right? It's if you remember that film Heat with Al Pacino and Robert De Niro, and they're always talking about, I want to know whom he moves and sits with, who he moves and sits with. How are all these people connected, and how is the police department even not looking at this in greater detail, or the state? And I think, this is why I draw these parallels between this and the Karen Reed case. And granted, Karen Reed was on trial. This family hasn't even gotten to anywhere near that. And this has been 13 years now. And what does all of this look like for John O'Keefe's family, for example? How will this play out for them? Will they be stuck in the same situation? And what does that look like, right? So, I don't know. What do you guys think? I mean, I see people here in the comments talking about. And yes, please note, I am not a lawyer, not a psychologist, and not in law enforcement. I'm just a guy who's been through a lot of shit, as you see in the intro to the show. This is my these are my opinions, just based upon my own sort of feelings of what is going on and the evidence at hand. So please take that with a grain of salt, for sure. And we always want to stray away from speculating who did what, because we're not in a trial situation. We're not even in an arrest situation. And this is a cold case. This is a legit cold case, and this country is littered with thousands of these. For me, I started thinking a lot about there was talk, over the last couple of years, and this seemed to give rise, especially during the pandemic, of this thing called frogging, where someone is living in your home without you knowing. I say that and I get chills up my spine thinking, what if I came home one day and there's somebody in my living room? I wonder if this has been investigated. I have not done any research on this, and I don't want to throw out any conjecture or any ideas that I think I may or may not have about certain things. But to me, it feels very suspicious. And again, Ellen Greenberg was stabbed 20 times. 20 times, and one of the fatal blows was to her spinal cord. And this whole theory of not the prosecution, of law enforcement or investigators of this could be death by suicide is how can it be if you sever your spinal cord, you lose all control over your limbs? You can't it's physically impossible. It's physically impossible enough to do it to begin with. But then to be able to continue to stabbing, and then the last blow was into her heart, I believe, 4 inches. For that to happen is utterly fanciful. And as they were saying, it sort of makes a mockery, especially with the statements. I'm going to look at, I think this is another nice another nightmare case the parents should never give up. But at the same time, at what point do you let it go? I guess you never let it go, right? I think back to, if I hadn't gotten justice for my mother, would I still be probably? I probably would. I'd probably be carrying on every day. We look at the Markell case with Dan Markell. His family pressed on for years without hope. And Ruth Markell and her husband, and to get justice for Dan. And now that whole thing is becoming completely unraveled, right? And we've seen the whole domino effect. But again, especially with missing persons cases, in my opinion, and in my, through my life when I've seen them and talked to people, the trail goes cold, and then they just sort of stop looking because there are so many cases that litter their desks in law enforcement to keep them from to continue an investigation that they feel is cold. It's terrible. It's sad. And yes, John Walsh never stopped over 30 years for Adam. And he made a television show about it and had helped tens of thousands of other people get justice, which is incredible. And yes, the Markell case is over 10 years as of a couple of weeks ago. Yes. Lily, yep, he's responsible for stopping any COD changes, not the murder. What was this? And stabbings, yes, I agree, Debbie Blair. They are intimate. No way she could do that. If she was going to commit death by suicide, it wouldn't happen like this. I wouldn't imagine. And much speculation has been talking about her mental health state. And was she depressed? Was she, and as they said, she was feeling anxiety. She went to see a mental health professional, which you should do if you are ever experiencing any of these things, or any of these things are triggering you, because none of this stuff that we talk about here or any of this should be a substitute for seeking your own professional mental help. That's in the show notes as well. You should pursue, you should take care of yourself for sure. She was going for anxiety, and she never, according to the therapist, ever mentioned any sort of physical altercations or any sort of issues with Sam. She only, in fact, spoke about him lovingly to the therapist. So every inch of the way that you keep going, it just seems cold. And how, if the door was latched, and this is the big problem, is he claims the door was latched with the U-bolt for the hotel style security, which I know people have put in the chat. You can break that. Now I don't feel safe when I go to a hotel. I don't know how you could undo that bolt from the outside, but I mean, I guess if you drilled into the door, you could. But the fact that if that was in fact the deal, but again, there are no witnesses to the bolt being latched, to Sam not being able to get into the apartment because there was no cameras on the residential floors in the building. So it's sort of his word against the investigator's word, right? Or against the parents' word, or against our word, right? We'd be like, come on, man, this doesn't make any sense. Well, but there's no proof either way. It's a very sticky situation, right? And hopefully, one of the things that I as I was looking at this going, okay, well, why are they going to change this in the death certificate? Well, apparently one of the main reasons is not only, the first reason is they want to honor their daughter's death properly. They don't want the shame and the stigma of her dying by suicide if in fact she did not. So that's hopefully at least one little piece of closure, as they discussed in the interview. But the other reason is because apparently this will open up the doors to civil litigation of some kind, including wrongful death suits, which they might file against Sam Goldberg. Again, what evidence do they have against him is something that I couldn't find a lot of info on. He sure is. I think Adam would look similar to Cal. Oh, I thought you guys were maybe writing about this. And again, I'm not sure. Yes, sister. Yeah, Sarah Turney. Absolutely. I agree. Collier almost drowned once. Could not hear running water for years. I understand triggered. I don't mean to make light. No, please. I can imagine that if you almost drowned, that running water would trigger you. I can definitely imagine that. There's a lot of PTSD that comes in there. I mean, I have a lot of PTSD with people. When I get yelled at, or when I get into situations where things go sideways, or there's miscommunications, or there's nefarious intentions. I have this very, very real reaction to things like that. I don't like being rug pulled. So I'm like, so I get it. It's a PTSD. It is a trauma response. It is a PTSD reaction. So I can understand. Just like people come back from war and they can't hear fireworks. I get it. So again, and we talk about this. Corbin McNeil's mentioned in the comments. If you guys are feeling like any of this material triggers you in any sort of way, please, it's okay to take a step back, because we have that luxury where we can all take a step back and remove ourselves from the situation. We had a situation happen again recently with the case with the Black Swan case. Some people were really triggered with that, and yeah, that's a real thing. And Ashley Benefield is looking at 30 years in prison, which is just wild. What is this case? Aunt Clara. A few days and parents recognize they have cause to reopen the case. Got to state Supreme Court. What is this? How many cases out there that was bad detective work or whatever that parents just accepted the police at their word? I mean, again, this is the challenge with law enforcement, right? Is how can you force anyone's hands? Departments are overstaffed, underfunded. There's a lot of crime that takes place nowadays. There's a lot of things that could be happening. And unfortunately, justice sometimes just falls by the wayside. So somebody was saying we need hotline numbers with the show. Yeah, and sometimes when I put the hotlines in the show notes, I get flagged by YouTube. So that's why we don't have some of these mental health resources that I wish we could have. Corbin McNeil points out, yes, her parents had to purchase the autopsy photos and the report to do their own independent research, which I know feels a lot like a really horrible thing to have to go through and a horrible thing to have to do. But again, this is how the court system works. This is how all of this happens. You have to pay for everything. You have to pay for everything. Things are underfunded. I know a lot of people think that prosecutors' offices and police departments are just, overflowing with money, but they're not, especially in cities like Philadelphia that have a lot of crime, very high crime. In fact, it boasted around the time of Ellen Greenberg's killing, it boasted the highest murder rate per capita in the United States at that time. It's a very overworked police department, I'm sure. And I'm sure there's a lot of corruption as well. I mean, look, I live in Los Angeles. That's probably we know how they do things over in the Rampart. Yeah, it's, I mean, it would be nice to live in this sort of altruistic world where, people get justice and people are able to, and police departments can have all the resources available to them to approach cases with such care and concern that they all rightfully deserve. That's why it helps to really be a strong advocate for your loved ones and for anyone who is going through this, and offer a strong support system to the families. That's why I put the GoFundMe in the chat, or not in the chat, in the show notes of the episode today, since we are talking about Ellen Greenberg. And if you guys want to support, reach out, get involved. I said this the last time when we were discussing on Thursday the conviction of Ashley Benefield, and a lot of people feel very helpless and very paralyzed with what they can do. And I suggested, it's being active in your local government, enacting change, writing, signing petitions, forcing the hand of the politicians, letting them know that you're going to hold them accountable for their decisions or lack thereof, and force them to do things. The squeaky wheel always gets the grease, right? So that's something to keep in mind if you are really adamant about enacting change. So sorry. I need more coffee. If you're really adamant about enacting change, I encourage anyone to be proactive about it. Yeah, we'll see if hopefully they will get the autopsy. They'll get the ruling reversed, and they'll be able to thing. Blackwater says it's totally a nefarious cover-up. Yeah. To what end, though? I think that's what we have to look at. What is the thing? I'm going to have to dig deep. Collier, I'm getting late here. If it hasn't been suggested, go check out what Gavin Fish has on this channel. He's been a major collaborator with the Greenbergs. He has a lot of Gavin Fish. Okay, I'll have to look up Gavin Fish. This case really recently got ruling in the last few days in favor of Ellen's parents after 12 years of fighting. Yes, and in fact, that's what we were talking about today. And will this break the case wide open? Will it cause law enforcement to do? Will it cause law enforcement to maybe reopen this case and break it wide open and look for answers? Yes, Sherry Falls, PTSD is real. Yes, we will go see the incredible deep dives on the other channels. Some triggering just wears off, of course. Well, yes, it does. Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, I hope everyone who is in the Southwest is being safe right now. And I'm just going through your comments here, because there was somebody mentioning something. If anybody else has any other ideas on Ellen Greenberg, please. I like Gavin Collier. Oh, very cool. This reminded me of someone who was possibly stuck with something sharp. Not sure if I can say the word, at a local drive-through bar last night. This world is crazy. Yeah, where was that, Crystal DeSaro? Oh, yes, the world is crazy. So many. Make way, Gavin. The movers and shakers are coming. That's funny. Oy vey. I'm sure he will love the having more people watch his videos. We only get concerned when the hurricane gets a number. Yes, Charlie, where are you at? Poor Gavin will be in shock. Somebody visit happy as well, but he is really informed on this case. Yeah, I can't give all the information all the time. I can just add my unique perspective to all these cases. But yeah, where is Charlie at? As I said, Sarah Holman and Cat Loves Catskills are in the oh geez, why is the name escaping me? It starts with a, hold on, I was just there, Tampa area. Why can't I remember now? Oh, it's just one of those things. Wow. and I have my Dolly Museum, St. Petersburg. Thank you, St. Petersburg. Nobody wrote that, but St. Petersburg area, where there's apparently heavy winds. What is 30-40 minutes east of Columbus, Ohio. Who is that? Chris. Oh, that's where the incident happened that you were saying at the drive-through. Oy vey. Yeah. Gainesville is in the center. Okay, got it. Marie Hathaway, thank you so much for the super sticker. I greatly appreciate it. Amy WC says, still mad about my electric box, stole off all the copper. Sons of friends. Yeah, we have a big issue here in Los Angeles. We have 62,000 street lights, and the majority of them are not working because the copper has been stolen out of them by copper thieves. It is just wild. My brother and best friend live in Florida, says Daffy Dill. Sherry, yoga keeps me moving and shaking half an hour a day. That's great. I am not a yoga person, but I need to maybe get into a little bit more of that. I need to get myself in more of a meditative state. Yeah, it will definitely add to my outlook and perspective. I'm a very happy, if you guys don't know this, I'm a very happy and very jovial and just bubbly guy if you ever meet me in person. But sometimes I have my days. I had to help a friend put a cat down on Friday night. The animal was suffering. It was just one of the most awful, excruciating experiences I've ever seen. I'd been a part of. It was just really, really sad, and I just felt my heart was breaking for her. And just it was awful. But the cat face is now at peace. But was it ever a thing? I was up until 1 a.m. Pulling stuff out of the apartment to sort of help cleanse it, and I've still been donating a lot of the cat toys and things that I pulled out because I didn't want it all to get thrown away. They were like, just throw it away. I'm like, I'm going to donate it. Somebody can use some of this stuff. So I've been doing that slowly over the last couple of days. Yeah, that's what I did with a lot of Blondie stuff too when she passed away, and which was only less than a couple of years ago. So, but now I have Marisol, as you all know, which I love very, very much. But yeah, I just he's at peace now, but it's the seizures and everything, and just the poor little guy, and just it was just really tough. It was really tough on my friend too, and she's really going through it. So I pray that she's okay, because I haven't heard from her, but I pray that she's okay. All right, what else? Don't forget your gorgeous eyes. Yes, I had an eyelash lift, by the way. I tried that out the other day. My friend at the salon was like, you got to try this, and it affected my vision. I think it's still maybe a little, no, it's not milky anymore. It was a little cloudy yesterday. To accentuate my, do we like this? Do we like how this looks? Yeah, and I think exactly. Donating the stuff, giving it to friends of mine have cats too, and I called them out and I said, I got some cat stuff, like I got little hiding shelters and little tents and some little toys and little perches and things. So kitty condo. Yeah, I was able to rehome some of it. Some of it I guess you can't because cats are very territorial, and I think they're like, yeah, we don't want to have that in. I want to have that in because that that could lead them to spray, but scratching posts and things like that were good. I'll have to get a lash lift now. Yeah, it's I don't know, there's something they put in, it helps extend. I guess it's like Latisse. I don't know, a friend of mine talked me into it. He was getting it done. He's like, let's just do it. So I was like, okay, I'll try it. I think my experiment was done. Oh, especially if it's a boy kitty, spray. Well, there you go. Don't go to Hollywood. Yeah, chemicals that curl. Yeah, it wasn't plastic surgery. It was like a little like eyelash thing. My buddy talked me into it. I'm like, I'll try it. Now I know it. And the technicians that were helping me, they said, now you know what all the pain that girls go through. And I said, yeah, I'm good. I'm good on this one. Let me tell you. Yes. I understand chemicals are not good. Yes. But I like to think my eyes are still amazing. But yes, a little extends my eyelashes, I guess. Anyways, have loved, not lived. What did it say? Letting go is the hardest. Yeah, absolutely. But to never have loved, in my opinion, is far worse than an empty life. Absolutely it is. All right, well, thank you. All right, guys, I get it. I'm not going to do it again. I promise I'm not going to do it again. I appreciate it. Thank you. I'm assuming some cucumbers to make them flash. Only enhancing what you already have. Well, thank you so much, Black Widow. I appreciate it. Yeah, I try not to do many chemicals. I try to be pretty good with that because it can be a little hairy for sure. All right, Mover Nation, it is 3:52. I'm going to probably cut out a little earlier today. Look, I love all of you. I appreciate all of you here. Thank you for being on this journey with me. I hope you found some of the information informative. I will keep you updated on the Ellen Greenberg case as it moves forward, if there is anything to update as well, because again, there's a link to her GoFundMe. If you guys want to support the family, that would be great. And and as I always say with all the true crime stuff, it's been really, a long couple weeks with some of these trials and things. Look, if you guys feel in any way that this is not benefiting you or watching this type of stuff, we all have the luxury of coming in and walking away and going back to our daily lives, going back to our families and friends and living the life that we have and appreciating and loving that life, right? I, for years, couldn't understand why people watched and consumed so much true crime, because as someone who was forced into this, I felt a lot like, well, yeah, it's not all it's cracked up to be, right? So take a moment for yourself. Take a moment for your friends, your family. Walk away from this material. Think about other beautiful things in the world, because the world is an amazing and beautiful place. It can be a challenging place, but it is amazing and beautiful place. And I'm glad that all of you are a part of it here with me. Mover Nation, we get through another one. Here's the outro. Mover Nation, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much to all my channel members and Patreon supporters. And for more exclusive content, behind the scenes videos, monthly VIP meet and greets and watch parties, please consider supporting me on Patreon or by becoming a YouTube channel member. If you like this video, check out this one right here or this one right here. And don't forget to like and subscribe, because it helps with the algorithm. On that note, I'm Collier Landry. I'll see you on the next one. Good girl, Marisol. Good girl.